Boy, oh boy, what a great time I had last Saturday. After this show was over, I was down at the Hotel St. Michael for the Prescott Sports Card Show, and lucky me, I snagged the last table available there so I could sell my books. Wasn't really sure how this event was going to go. I was thinking, well, is Prescott the right place for a sports card show? Well, turned out it was. We had a steady flow of foot traffic the entire day. Probably one of the things that helped was there was an event going on around the Courthouse Plaza, and it was pretty hot last Saturday. So I think a lot of people, after they got done walking around the Courthouse Plaza, looked over at the Hotel St. Michael and said, hey, there's a card show going on over there. That looks interesting. Also, it's inside, which means air conditioning. I actually made a lot of sales there, and at one point, Dan Eisenberg, the PA announcer for Chino Valley High School Sports, he came over to my table, and Dan is a huge Detroit Tigers fan. And I think I mentioned this on previous shows that my next baseball book is the best Tigers team ever, where I come up with an all-time 25-man roster for the Tigers. So Dan comes up to my table, and he says, hey, John, you got that Tigers book? And I'm like, dude, I just started editing and revising it. Like, folks, genius cannot be rushed. Or at least I can't be rushed. Anyway, the show was a success, and I talked to the guy who organized it, who's actually the owner of the sports card show over at the Depot Marketplace, and I said I did really well there with my book sales, and if you do this again, I really want to be a part of it, and it looks like he's interested in putting on another card show. Don't know when, and it will probably be at a bigger venue given all the foot traffic we got there, and I was not only a vendor at this event, I was also a customer. There are a couple times I went around, I checked out some of the tables there, and I did get myself some baseball cards, including a 1961 Robin Roberts card. Robin Roberts, of course, the big ace of the Philadelphia Phillies back in the 1950s. And I actually got that card from none other than Prescott baseball coach Barry Tully, who was also there with his own table selling a bunch of cards. I also got a couple of unopened packs of Donruss and Fleer cards. And that kind of took me back to my youth when I'd get a pack of cards and, you have that anticipation of, oh boy, who am I going to get? Who am I going to get? I got some pretty cool ones. I got a Donruss Brian Harvey card. Of course, he was a great closer for the California Angels back in the day. I got a Gary Carter card. Then there was this one guy, Mike Smithson, who played for the Red Sox back then. And me being a Red Sox fan, I'm actually looking at this card and I'm going, I don't remember this guy. Anyway, like I said, great show, had a great time there, sold a whole bunch of my books there, but probably a show that the new breed of baseball fan would not like. And I'm talking about those fans these days who think WAR and OPS Plus are the only stats that matter, and they hate any player who played prior to 2010 because, of course, today's players are the greatest that ever played the game, and everyone who came before them stinks. And if you disagree with the new rules that Major League Baseball implemented this year, they and scream at you. And if they pick up a baseball card and look at the back of it, they'll probably say, I don't know how good this player was. His WAR and his OPS Plus aren't on this card. I just go over to him and say, hey, look at the front of the card. What does the name say? Roberto Clemente. Nuff said. Of course, that's not the only thing that's annoyed me about present-day Major League Baseball. This week, we had the huge story come out of Baltimore where their play-by-play guy, Kevin Brown, was suspended by team ownership for, well, quoting stats. Basically, all he did was talk about how the Orioles over the past few years haven't had much success at Tropicana Field, the home of the Tampa Bay Rays. Then he said, look at them this year. They've won 3 of their last 5 games at the Trop. Well, the ownership of the Orioles felt he was being critical of the team, and they suspended him again for simply stating facts and giving people context of the game that was coming up. And of course, the Orioles rightly got pounced, trounced, and denounced by, well, not just their fans, but pretty much everyone and anyone who has any kind of association with baseball. And it looks like the main architect of this suspension was John Angelos, who's actually the son of, I believe, the principal owner of the Orioles, Peter Angelos. And boy, did he come off as an absolute thin-skinned, pathetic crybaby with this. And speaking as a person who does play-by-play, this is what you're supposed to do. Before a game, you set these things up. You say, hey, this team has done such and such against that team, whether it's good, whether it's bad. Again, you're putting that game into context for the fans who need that information so they know what to expect in that game. Obviously, John Angelos does not understand that, but luckily, there were reports that last night Kevin Brown did come back to the booth for the Orioles, so sanity finally reigned for the Baltimore Orioles. But given some of the things I've heard about the ownership group there, who knows how long that's going to last. I have heard some other things about the Orioles and how they've been running their club. You go back several years ago, and this was the team that kicked John Miller, one of the most outstanding play-by-play guys in baseball, to the curb. I mean, I loved watching John Miller and Joe Morgan do games on Sunday Night Baseball for ESPN, but they booted Miller out of the booth, and then what happens? San Francisco Giants swoop in, and they get him as their play-by-play guy, and their fans love him. I also heard a thing that ownership doesn't like the announcers to talk about Oriole players from the past. Yeah, that one I don't get. I mean, the Orioles have been around since the mid-1950s. Of course, before then, they were the St. Louis Browns. So when the team's been around that long, you're going to have some outstanding players. You're going to have some players who've set records along the way that need to be talked about in a game, especially if, say, a current player is approaching a record of a past player. So, again, like I said, that's one I don't get. But, again, it might fall into that, new breed of baseball fan category where they really don't like people talking about players of the past or anything that has to do with Major League Baseball's past. And while I am glad that Kevin Brown is back on the air, I'm kind of hoping that after this season, he looks for a job with another team. And everything that I've heard, just about every other team in Major League Baseball would love to hire this guy to do their play-by-play. But I cover this incident in more detail on my Russ Rants podcast, which you can check out at our YouTube channel, KYCA Digital. And fair warning, folks, I kind of lost my you-know-what on that podcast. But hey, I took this story kind of personally, again, because I'm in the business. Now, okay, Kevin Brown does his play-by-play for the Baltimore Orioles. I do mine here in a small town in Arizona. Still, it's the same thing. You get on the mic and you talk about the game going on in front of you. And I hear about a broadcaster who gets suspended for just quoting facts and stats, and that just really, really irritates me. And to say the dude was critical of the team for saying what he did, I have no clue about that. And, you got to figure that Kevin Brown, this is going to be in the back of his head if, I don't know, say Ryan Mountcastle comes to the plate and he's 0 for 4 in the game. And Brown's probably thinking, well, can I say Mountcastle is 0 for 4? Because if I do, ownership might suspend me again for saying I'm being critical of the guy when all he's doing is, stating a fact. And I mentioned this to our boss here, Jason, and when I told him the story, he kind of gave me this look like, you got to be kidding me, man. But I can assure you that, and this comes directly from our boss, that if I'm on the air doing play-by-play, and if I say something like the Badgers have lost their last 4 games in a row, I will not be suspended from the airwaves for being critical of the team. Just when I think we've achieved peak clown world, another incident comes along and surpasses it. Jeez Louise. Anyway, folks, 928-541-1016, number to call here on the Tri-City Sports Roundup. Again, 928-541-1016. So you can check us out here on KYCA, 1490 AM, 103.5 FM. Also online at kyca.info. And yes, we weren't able to do it last week, but yes, this week we are back to video live streaming on the KYCA Facebook page, so you can check us out there. And of course, folks, fall sports is getting underway. We've already had quite a few scrimmages involving some of our local soccer teams this week. Yavapai College Volleyball, they were also down at the ACCAC Jamboree on Thursday. And this coming week, The games will start to count for real, so looking forward to that. And in less than 2 weeks, we're going to have our first Prescott football game coming up here on KYCA. Badgers open up the season on the road at La Jolla Community School. And, to get us ready for what is to come here in the fall sports season, today we're going to have Yavapai College men's soccer coach Chris Hauser. He is scheduled to call in for us. And also, we're going to hear from Matthew Dunn. He's the athletic director at Chino Valley High School. So we'll get some skinny on what is going down with men's soccer at Yavapai and, of course, Chino Valley Sports with the boys soccer team there trying to go for another state title. Again, 928-541-1016 number to call. Break time here on the Tri-City Sports Roundup, so we will be back right after this. And we're back here on the News 1490 AM, 103.5 FM, Tri-City Sports Roundup. And we were hoping to have Coach Chris Hauser call up our show today. Unfortunately, we haven't heard from him yet. So, hopefully he'll call in later on and talk about the Yavapai College men's soccer team. Going to be kind of interesting to see how they do this year. Actually, both the men's and women's soccer teams at Yavapai College. Boy, oh boy, definitely going to be like a new look for them. They have a ton of new players on their rosters. Both squads, they were actually in scrimmage action earlier this week. In fact, you're going to get a chance to see Yavapai in action today. They do have a couple of home scrimmages going on. In fact, the women, they will be scrimmaging Park University this afternoon. I believe that game gets underway at 3:30 p.m., and that'll be over at Ken Lindley Field. And kind of an interesting thing with Park University is they have 3 former Yavapai College players on their roster, so they'll get to make a nice little return trip to Ken Lindley Field. One of them is former Prescott High School standout Emma Alvarez. So going to be nice to see how things go for the Lady Rider soccer team there. And they were in a scrimmage earlier this week with Embry-Riddle and got off to a bit of a shaky start. I know I talked to Coach Rosie DeWeese earlier in the week, and she said, obviously there are a ton of new players, pretty much everyone on the Yavapai women's soccer team is new this year. So again, it was a bit of a feeling out process for them. And also Coach DeWeese said, maybe the shape I started out with wasn't the greatest, but after a while they calmed down. And again, this is like a brand new team going up against a very experienced team with Embry-Riddle. Coach Todd Poitras is bringing back a ton of his players from last year that, did pretty well going, I think played about 3 games in the national tournament. So again, it's going to be interesting to see how Yavapai women's soccer does. I'll tell you this though, because the way the format was for that scrimmage that Yavapai had against Riddle, they did 3 30-minute halves. And again, the first half was a pretty shaky one, but the next 2 halves, Riddle came out, did very well, and actually shut out Embry-Riddle the rest of the way. And of course, with Embry-Riddle, probably the second and third halves, Coach Poitras getting a lot of his second stringers in there, getting a lot of his freshmen in there. Again, just trying to give everyone some more experience before they go on to open up the season. In fact, Embry-Riddle women's soccer, they are in action today. They're going to be up in Flagstaff to take on the NAU women's soccer team. Meanwhile, Yavapai College men's soccer, kind of the same thing with them. Ton of new players on their roster this year. And again, it's like, they show up here, kind of the last weekend in July, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, let's get on the field. Let's start getting our lineups together. And of course, with brand new players, it's like, well, I got to learn how this guy acts. I got to learn how that guy acts. And just a lot of team bonding, team chemistry, just trying to get the feel of all these new guys around them. And from what I've been told by folks at Yavapai College Soccer, things are starting to come together for them. The guys have really bonded quickly and bonded well, starting to work together as a team. So we'll get to see how that goes tonight. Yavapai men actually in action in a scrimmage against the ASU club soccer team. So we'll see how things go for them. Meanwhile, Embry-Riddle men, they're just chugging along fine. Again, Coach Dan Ballagaro has got a lot of guys back from that team last year that won the CalPAC championship, two of the big ones. And, because of COVID, of course, they get one more extra year to continue their soccer career. So he's got Lucas Garcia back, who, of course, last week was one of our Tri-City Sports Roundup top 10 local male athletes of the year. The CalPAC Conference Offensive Player of the Year. You also have Alex Francis, who was the CalPAC Newcomer of the Year, scored a ton of goals, and he is back with Embry-Riddle for this season. Now, Francis, he actually missed the scrimmage Wednesday night when Embry-Riddle and Yavapai went at one another. I think he's got a bit of a hamstring injury, but he told me that he should be ready to go for the Riddle season opener, which will be next Saturday. Embry-Riddle will be taking on the University of Providence, and we'll see how Providence goes. Providence coming off a really harsh season there, but Riddle, things are looking fine with them. Again, they have a lot of experienced guys coming back from last year. The same with the Embry-Riddle women's soccer team. Yavapai men, though, they really did a good job for how many new guys that Yavapai men's soccer has on its team. They did a great job holding their own against Embry-Riddle. In fact, that scrimmage ended in a 0-0 draw. So good job by Riddle, putting up some pretty stout defense. And again, talking to some of the Riddle players, it's like, hey, it's been a while since we were actually in a game situation. So we just needed a little time to get adjusted and get used to one another again. But that's what a scrimmage is for, just to kind of get used to college level gameplay again, get used to the guys around you again in an actual game situation. And that's the time where you make mistakes. If you're going to make a mistake, make it in a scrimmage that doesn't count. So then it's like, okay, well, now we know what to correct before we get into games that actually count on the schedule. So again, Embry-Riddle men's soccer, they get to open up the season next Saturday versus Providence. Huge slate of season openers coming up next Thursday. We'll have 3 of our local soccer teams in action. That will all be right here in Prescott. Yavapai College, they will be opening up the season again next Thursday, and both the men and women will be taking on the College of Southern Nevada. Women, they kick off at 3:30 p.m. Thursday. The men, they follow at 6 p.m. But then what a matchup we are going to have here for the Embry-Riddle women's soccer team. And talk about a challenge to kick off the regular season. The Riddle season opener for the women, that will be 7 p.m. over at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Their first game of the season will be against the defending NAIA national champions, Spring Arbor University from Michigan. Michigan, of course, the home of the famed Michigan Dogman, one of the most terrifying cryptids out there. Yeah, it's me, so I have to drop a cryptid reference in here. And again, Spring Arbor, they have a lot of ladies back from that national championship team. But kind of funny because when Riddle and Spring Arbor, when they've got, I think their last 2 meetings, they both ended in draws. So, this should be one heck of a game. But I'll tell you, if you're a soccer fan and Thursday comes around for you, it's going to be hard to figure out where you want to go. You want to go to Ken Lindley and watch Yavapai? Do you want to go up to Embry-Riddle and watch the Lady Eagles take on, again, the defending national champions for the NAIA? So, like I said, for local soccer fans, you definitely got a lot of good choices for what games you want to go to on Thursday. And speaking of soccer, actually, Chino Valley, they'll be kicking off their season soon. In fact, Chino Valley girls, they will be opening up their season next Friday. They begin play at the Longhorn Invitational. That'll be up at Payson. Of course, Chino Valley girls, they were the state runners-up last year. And next Friday, folks, we will have our first local football game of the year. Chino Valley High School, they will be on the road. Boy, will they be on the road. And they will be taking on Page High School. Again, that's going to be a very long trip up to Page to start off the season. In fact, 3 of Chino Valley's first 4 games of the year will be on the road, but their second game of the season, that actually will be taking place in Flagstaff at the NAU Sky Dome. So a heck of a way for them to start off the season. So, again, this is going to be a pretty busy week when it comes to local sports coming up. And actually, our first season opener will take place on Tuesday, and getting us started with the fall sports season will be the Prescott boys golf team. Actually, talking to Coach Dan Osterloh, he said that the season opener was a little early than he expected it to be, but there was some scheduling conflicts with their opponent, Lee Williams. And the only time, because actually I think what he said was the coach for the Lee Williams boys is also the coach for the Lee Williams girls team. There was some scheduling conflicts, and the only time that both the schedules of Lee Williams and Prescott coincided would be on August 15th. So August 15th, you can say that is the official start of the fall sports season. That'll be the season opener for the Prescott boys golf team. A lot of new golfers on that squad, but Coach Dan Osterloh is very, very confident that Prescott is going to have a great season on the green. So definitely looking forward to this week. A busy week coming up. And, of course, you can catch all the recaps here on KYCA. We'll tell you how all these local teams will be doing in their season openers. All right, folks, 928-541-1016, number to call here on the Tri-City Sports Roundup. We're going to take a break here on the show. When we come back, I mentioned Chino Valley football, Chino Valley girls soccer. They have their season openers next Friday. We'll talk a little more about Chino Valley sports coming up. We have got Matt Dunn. He's the athletic director for Chino Valley High School, so we'll be talking to him on the other side of the break. We'll be back right after this. We are back here on the Tri-City Sports Roundup. John Rust with you here as we get set to seriously dive into fall sports. A lot of season openers coming up here. A lot of things involving Chino Valley. As I said, their football team, well, they get a head start on all the other local football teams here because they have their season opener next Friday. In fact, they had a scrimmage last night over at Chino Valley High School. So we'll talk a little about that and all the other Chino Valley sports as we go to the phones right now. And on the horn with us, we have Matt Dunn. He is the athletic director over at Chino Valley High School. Hey, Matt, good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, John. Thanks for having us.
Hey, you got it. Well, like I said, next Friday is the season opener for the Chino Valley football team. They got to get on the bus and take that long trip up to Page. But last night, they got the chance to show their fans how they were looking as they had a scrimmage last night. I'm sure you were there at that scrimmage, so just tell us how you feel Chino Valley football looked under their new head coach, Ricky Herrera.
Well, I'll tell you what, it has been a change of the guard, so to speak. Ricky's out there with the kids. He's motivated. He's strict. He's fundamentally sound, and the kids responded real well last night. It was a great turnout for our scrimmage.
Great. Because I know one of the things he was big on, along with the X's and O's, it seems like one of his big focus was just on the team mentality. And I know a couple of times I went out to 7-on-7s over at Prescott High School when Chino was there. That was his big focus. He was just like, look, guys, you can't go out there and be intimidated and let other teams push you around. You got to go out there. You got to be mentally strong. And, that was back in June. Here we are 2 months later, and it seems like from what you're saying, it looks like all that stuff that Coach Herrera has been telling his kids is starting to take hold.
Absolutely. The kids are buying in. The older players on the team are showing their leadership role. They're helping out the younger players and coming together. They're a unit out there. They're a team. It looks great.
Mm-hmm. And, again, I know, for the last decade, it's been a bit of a struggle for Chino Valley football, but I know it's just one scrimmage, and there's a lot of mixing and matching going on in there as Coach Herrera is trying to use different formations, put in different guys, see how they're doing. But when you see what Coach Herrera has been doing, when you see how they performed last night in that scrimmage, your thoughts on if you feel maybe this is going to be the season where things really start to click and really start to turn around for the Cougars on the gridiron?
Well, I'm hopeful that this is going to be the year. But as far as what I saw last night and what our fans saw, great turnout, by the way. The Chino Valley community was there in all support for our team. It looked great. The field's looking well. But Coach Herrera has put together a program that's going to be in existence for a while. He's changing the mindset of the players, not only on the field, but off the field. And that's carrying over to our school, our classrooms, and so forth. It's been amazing. He's doing a great job. And going forward, I think this is going to be a great turning point for our programs.
And of course, Ricky Herrera, he's also the wrestling coach over at Chino Valley High School. So I imagine, that's an extra benefit for him because along with, getting his guys ready for football, I'm sure he's probably going up to some of them and going, hey, did you ever think of being a wrestler?
I mean, being a dual coach, one team, you can talk to your players. So why don't you come out for this? Give it a shot. Ricky is very supportive of all his kids. And it's not just, I want you as an athlete. He wants the kids to be better as a person, and he works with them. A lot of his conversations with the kids are real-life situations, and he's helping them personally to grow into mature young adults.
Mm-hmm. And, well, along with football, again, the season opener for Chino football is next week up at Page. But also next week, you have another season opener, and that is going to be with the Chino Valley girls soccer team, last year's 2A state runners-up. And they will be heading up to Page, not Page, excuse me. They'll be heading to Payson for the Longhorn Invitational. And I imagine they're looking forward to that, getting back on track and trying to come home this year with a state championship.
Well, absolutely. Last year they got all the way to the final game, had a tough outing against Northland Prep, but they're going to start off the season. I believe their first round play game in this tournament is going to be against Northland Prep, which, what better way to start? Right where you left off. Let's see if we can make a difference. I know our head coach, Gareth Reese Evans, has been working hard with the girls, putting together a unit that's going to be competitive all season long.
And you mentioned the head coach there, and actually you have a new head coach there replacing DJ Daniels. So tell us about the new Chino girls soccer coach and what he's bringing to the table.
Well, he's been along with the program. He worked with DJ last year as an assistant, so he's familiar with the girls, with the program. He's worked with the youth programs for numerous years. He's been with these girls as they've grown up, so that he knows what they're capable of. He knows the fundamental skills that they bring to the table and how he can utilize them on the field. I think he's going to do a phenomenal job getting out there, spreading the field out, controlling the ball, and putting some points on the board.
And obviously it's going to be kind of interesting to see how Chino girls do. You have lost quite a few talented players from last year. Caitlin Roscoff, one of the most prolific goal scorers in Chino Valley history. Well, she's still in town. She's actually playing over at Embry-Riddle. And, of course, you have London Wiggin. Did an outstanding job for you. She's now over at Yavapai, and several other girls have graduated. So I guess a little bit of a rebuild this year for the girls' soccer team.
It's definitely going to be a rebuilding year, but we've had some girls in the pipeline. They were with the program last year, and they're just going to have to step up and fill some big roles. Mm-hmm. Again, those girls that you mentioned were phenomenal players and still are phenomenal players, but unfortunately they have to graduate, and we just got to fill those gaps and see what we have. But we have some very good athletes out there, and I think we're going to be able to compete again.
And, of course, one of them is Danielle Graham, who was our Tri-City Sports Roundup #1 local female athlete of the year, a state champion in track and field, but also a very good soccer player, and I'm sure they're going to be leaning on her for a lot of scoring and just a lot of experience and leadership.
Exactly. She's always, last year in soccer, she was played the second fiddle role, so to speak, because Caitlin was there, but in her own mind, in her own right, she is a great player. She's got speed, she's got talent, and she's going to have to lend some of her leadership skills and develop a couple of these younger players if they're going to compete at that next level.
And speaking of soccer, let's talk about the boys, the defending 2A conference state champions. And, of course, they begin the defense of that state title on August 22nd. They have a home game against Snowflake. And just give us your impression of how you feel Coach Carey and his guys are looking as they head into the season and hoping to hang another championship banner for you in that gym.
First thing, kudos to Coach Carey and his teams that he puts out there year in, year out. He does a phenomenal job working with the kids. He understands all their abilities, what they can offer the team, how they can help the team build. And he's got some good numbers out there this year. We had a very big turnout, and he's going to be competitive again. He's going to be right there with us.
And well, one of the things that really benefits Chino Valley is like kind of like you said with the girls, you got a lot of good players in the pipeline, and that always seems to be the case for Chino Valley boys. It just seems like they have a lot of good guys in the pipeline coming in from the middle school, coming in from some of the local youth teams. So they got guys there who have really excelled in soccer. They get up to Chino Valley, and I mean, how many times have we seen on the Chino Valley boys team where you have freshmen and sophomores come in? They not only start right away, but they become key players for Chino Valley's success.
Absolutely. One of our assistant coaches, Ted Hawks, works with the middle school, so he coaches down there, and we're able to, put out some of our feelers and see what's coming through, so we know what's coming up. And as you said, some of these younger kids come in and they impact that team from the day one. And believe it or not, we're going to see that happen again this year. There's a couple kids out there. We've got some speed this year, and they're going to do well.
All right. And then, of course, moving from the soccer field, you also have volleyball, and Chino Valley. They will open up their season. Actually, according to the schedule here, they open up on August 28th at Heritage Middle School, not at the Chino Valley Gymnasium, and they'll be taking on Page. And I know last year was a bit of a struggle for volleyball, but how are things looking this year for them under Coach Soto?
As of right now, I think our numbers are down a little bit, but we've got some returning players that are coming back, and once we're all healthy and ready to go, we'll be in the swing of things. Like you said, August 28th at HMS. They're ready to play. As everyone does. Practice is monotonous after a while. We need competition. They're getting ready. They got a scrimmage coming up, and then they should be off and running.
Yeah, and when they do open up the season at the Chino Valley High School Gymnasium, or when they get to the Chino Valley High School Gymnasium,
Yeah.
again they're going to be opening up at Heritage Middle School. But when they resume play at Chino Valley High School's Gymnasium, they're going to be kind of in some new surroundings because you guys have spent the last few months really improving and revamping the gymnasium over there.
There's been a lot of time, effort, updates. It's going to have a whole new look when people come in. They're going to be amazed. As a lot of people are aware, we did the gym floor a couple of years ago. Now we got the new bleachers. It needed a facelift, and it's getting it. And it's going to be amazing because, again, people want something to call their own. They have a den. They have a cougar nest or whatever the girls' volleyball team is calling it, but it's now theirs. They got to take pride in that, and they're going to show it on the field, on the competition court.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, rounding out Chino Valley Fall Sports, we have cross country, once again under the direction of Mark Metz. And last year, team did very well, especially in the sectional meet. So what about for this year? I imagine it's going to be the same thing from Coach Metz and his runners. I imagine we can expect some pretty good things coming out of them.
I'll tell you what, Coach Metz puts his kids through a pretty tough, rigorous workout, and they're out there every day giving their all, making things happen. And you know what's funny is Coach Metz is right there with them. Everything he asks his kids to do, he's doing with them. So it's nothing going beyond his normal training regimen, and it works great for our program.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I think we've mentioned this before. You look at the things that Coach Metz did this past season for track and field, and I'm not just talking about producing 3 state champions with Danielle Graham and Danica McDonald, who, by the way, is now with Yavapai College volleyball, and then Brody Ryan, who I believe we're going to be seeing on the football field as well this year for Chino. But you look at what he's done with the facilities there. Again, you have the brand new track. You now have a javelin facility there at Chino Valley. So and brand new hurdles to go along with the new track. So it is amazing what Coach Metz has done to really improve that track and field facilities there. And I imagine that's going to translate into probably getting a few more athletes out there.
Absolutely. Again, when kids can see first impression that we have a new track, we have the new throwing rings, the discus, the javelin, new events out there. And Coach Metz, kudos to him. It's been a long time coming. He's worked hard getting this stuff accomplished. Now we're going to start having some bigger meets at our place this year, and it's going to be amazing. It's just going to be fun to watch, fun to participate in.
Mm-hmm. And, well, along with the new track facilities, I know over the years a lot of people have been wondering or saying that, maybe the time is coming to do some more maintenance work on the football field, maybe even get a new football field. So any future plans in the works for that or what?
Well, so if anyone's been out there in the last 2 to 3 weeks, our school district has hired a new employee that just works on turf. He works on fields. That's his specialty. Comes in and he takes analysis of soil and he prepares them for the season. We had people coming in yesterday and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen this field so green." We had experienced last year some water issues. This year they've been alleviated. The field's looking great. Not only is the facility looking great from the inside, it's playing well, and we also have the new restroom facilities that has not been around since the school was built. So it's a win for the players and it's a win for our fans.
Yeah. It's kind of unfortunate that it's going to be a while maybe before fans experience that on the football field, because they had a lot of traveling for the football team this year. Like I said, I think 3 of their first 4 games of the season are going to be on the road, and I think they surrendered a home game this year so they can be part of the big football exhibition that they put on at the NAU Skydome this year.
Yeah, you said that. We're going to be known as the world-class travelers this year, and because we do, they try to set us up 5 home, 5 away, but we had to surrender one, as you said, to get the experience of the Dome, which I think is going to be a great opportunity for these young kids, an eye-opening experience, so to speak, walking in there and seeing that place, seeing what it feels like to play on the big stage, and Coach Herrera's got them ready. He's like, I can't wait till we get going, get winning, and come home and have our fan base supporting us, midway through the season.
Well, as someone who's done quite a few football games up at the NAU Skydome when Prescott has traveled there, I can tell you this, that is a really cool place to do a game from, especially like before the game when I'm walking around on the field, talking to players and coaches. Just a really great experience there. And if you have to surrender a home game, at least you do it, like you said, to get that really awesome experience of being able to play a game at a college football stadium, especially one like the NAU Skydome.
Yeah, when you can put something together on an elite stage like that, you take that opportunity for your kids, your staff, your players, your school, and you run with it.
All right. Well, Matt Dunn, the athletic director over at Chino Valley High School, I want to thank you very much for joining us here on the Tri-City Sports Roundup this morning as we get everyone set for the first week of official fall sports here in the Tri-City area. I mean, games that actually count, not just scrimmages. So, Matt, always a pleasure talking to you, and good luck to you and all the Chino Valley teams out there this year. And, of course, we here at KYCA will be following the progress of all you guys out there at Chino.
Thank you very much for having me, and thanks again for all you do for our athletes, our community, and all the players that go to our schools in the community. Thank you very much.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome, Coach. Have yourself a good day.
Thank you.
All right. Again, Matt Dunn, the athletic director at Chino Valley High School. Yeah, I did call him coach. Well, he actually is a coach because he is still coaching the softball team out there. So I was not wrong in giving him that title, coach. All right, folks. Well, that is going to do it for this edition of Tri-City Sports Roundup. And again, get ready. Hold on to your hats because we are going to have a bunch of season openers this week. We will be covering them for you right here on KYCA. Tuesday, our first official game that really counts. Prescott Boys Golf, they will be in action at Antelope Hills Golf Course to take on Lee Williams. Big night of season openers on Thursday, as we've got soccer galore here in the Tri-City area. Yavapai College men and women taking on College of Southern Nevada over at Ken Lindley Field. Embry-Riddle women's soccer team, they will be at home to play the defending NAIA national champions, Spring Arbor University. We also have also one other scrimmage we got coming up, Embry-Riddle and Yavapai Volleyball. They will be going at it at the Embry-Riddle Gymnasium, and that'll be 3 o'clock on Tuesday. So still got some scrimmages going on next week, including Prescott High School football. They will be having a scrimmage this coming Wednesday against Poston Butte. That will be at home. So lots and lots of stuff going on sports-wise, and we will have it for you all here on KYCA, all the recaps, all the information you need. Oh, folks, that's going to do it for this show. Thank you very much for joining us. Have yourselves a good one.